Hey guys, we're back for another preview and prediction video, and it's a round of 16 match between defending champion Coco Gauff and up-and-coming American star Emma Navarro. So an all-American affair, and I'm very interested to get into this one because it's a rematch of their Wimbledon match where Emma Navarro came out on top in straight sets. I actually had the pleasure of talking to both of them in their post-match press conferences after that match. So Emma Navarro after she won and Coco Gauff after she lost. So I'll shed some light on what they both said to me about that match and how potentially it might change for this one. If you do want to listen though and watch, when I was talking to them in the post-match press conferences, you can do so by checking out our tennis interviews playlist. There are interviews with Gauff, Navarro, and a bunch of other players, including people like Djokovic, Alcaraz, etc. A lot of interviews by myself, but also a lot by Liam, Ash, Double Ash, Flo, and some others as well. So Anthony recently at Atlanta. So do check those out. They're definitely a good watch. In terms of what we're going to do then, so if you've watched some of our recent videos, you'll know that we're going to quickly give you guys some nuggets of information on this really cool match flow graphic here. Then we're going to go into the recent form of both players. So more looking at it from a holistic view of the last year. And then I will talk about it tactically and strategically. And as I said, I've watched and also talked to both players and got a good feel of their match at Wimbledon anyway and how that played out. They have played once before. The head-to-head is 1-1. Coco Gauff won that one very convincingly in Auckland earlier this year in January. So, yeah, the hardcore match they played, Gauff came out on top. But there's now an interesting spanner in the works after Navarro managed to put together a really potent game plan to stop Gauff in a Grand Slam at Wimbledon. So we're back on the hard courts, and we'll talk about that as well and how that could make a difference. Before we do get into it, though, remember to hit that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. I really appreciate all of you. Someone left a review on one of our podcasts, actually on Spotify, I think it was, maybe Apple Podcasts, and I really, really did appreciate it. So I know on YouTube it's very lively. There's a lot of people talking in the comment section and getting involved, and I appreciate that. If you are listening on a podcast platform, don't be shy. Get involved, honestly, because I will reply. I reply to all the comments on the channel as long as they are suitable and not offensive. So, yeah, appreciate it. And members on YouTube, you guys are real legends as well for contributing to the channel. It really does help. So we appreciate all of you. In terms of then the little tidbits, so you can see nuggets of information. You can see Coco Gauff is a number 3 in the world. It's her peak ranking so far in her career, only 20 years of age. Emma Navarro, also pretty young at 23 years of age, came through the collegiate system. She's ranked number 12 in the world, and that is also her peak. So 2 players at the top of their game, you could say. Coco Gauff has not had the best year, but she's coming into this the US Open champion, and she's still at the top and at the forefront of women's tennis. I wouldn't say she is the best, but yeah, look, I mean, she's been very, very good. What I would say is, look, I mean, for Coco, it's going to be interesting. She's got 2 coaches in her corner, Jean-Christophe Farrell and Brad Gilbert, and there were some interesting moments at Wimbledon between them as a team, some challenging ones. For Emma Navarro, she has Peter Ayers in her corner, and you can see here on the graphic, America wants a new Serena is what Match for Graphics is saying. Well, maybe, of course, Gauff has already won the slam, or a slam, sorry, even. Emma Navarro looking to win her first, and she's really had a breakthrough year. It's been a big, big year for her. A win prediction prior to the match for graphics have gone for Coco Gauff to win 65%, which is pretty big, actually. I wouldn't have thought it would have been that big. I think they base it on a few different factors and from external sources, but 65% in favor of Gauff, 35% in favor of Navarro. Interesting. It's a round of 16 match, of course, as well. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually not going to be in the night session, which is interesting. It'll be in daytime conditions. Not sure who that will favor, but I would imagine Gauff. In terms of their form, then let's get into that. So you can see here on screen, Navarro had a very good Rogers Cup, made the semi-finals there, and Then before that, both players played in the Olympics, both losing the round of 16. Not much to talk about there. Then at Wimbledon, you can see Navarro lost to Paolini in the quarterfinals, and Gauff at the same stage that this match is being held in the round of 16, lost to Navarro at Wimbledon. In terms of Bad Homburg Open, you can see Navarro played a few matches there, lost in the semi-finals, some good wins against Wozniacki. I mean, she beat Osaka at Wimbledon, which was pretty good. So she's looking pretty decent. I mean, she's made a lot of round of 16s, a few quarterfinals, a few semi-finals. So it's been a very solid year from her. For Gauff, she's made quite a few semi-finals, Indian Wells, Rome, Roland Garros, Berlin. So yeah, I mean, no finals and no title wins in this span, but it's been, yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty good run. And actually, this is looking at March, April, May, June, July, August. So we're looking at 7 months and, oh, sorry, 6 months. Let me get my maths correct. In terms of the overall stats, so Gauff has played 10 tournaments, 26 wins for her, 10 losses at a 72% win rate. Navarro's played 2 more tournaments at 12, 23 wins and 12 losses for her, so at a 66% win rate. So Gauff just edging it in terms of consistency and wins over the last 6 months. Now, what I want to do actually, before I get into the very specific strategy and tactics, and also talk about what they told me in the post-match press conferences and how that could have a bearing, I want to quickly go through this match flow of the Wimbledon match, which kindly Matchflow graphics put together for me. So you can see this is set one, so 6-4 in favor of Navarro. But if we look, it was a pretty interesting set of tennis because set one was not straightforward for Emma Navarro. You can see at 2-all, it's pretty plain sailing for both, no breakpoint opportunities. And then at 2-all, you can see here, Navarro goes love 40 down. And Gauff manages to break. So Gauff breaks and goes 3-2 up. So she was 3-2 up in that first set, broke to love. Then Gauff is serving at 3-2 up, looking to go 4-2 up, create a gap between the two. She ends up going 15-40 down. And Navarro breaks at the first time of asking, like Gauff did, so they're back on serve. And then they play a pretty long game at 3-all on Navarro's serve. Now, probably the longest game of the set. Only ends up being one juice, but Gauff gets 2 opportunities to break at 15-40 and 30-40. She doesn't take them, and then Navarro holds. So a slight momentum shift there. And then Gauff manages to hold pretty comfortably to go 4-all. And then we have a really pivotal match. Sorry, a pivotal point, I think, in this set at 4-5. So Gauff serving to stay in the set, still on serve, so no need to panic. But what Gauff does is she ends up getting broken and then conceding the set. So, I mean, Navarro had 2 opportunities at 30-40 and then add up. She takes it the second time of asking. Gauff would have been disappointed, of course, given that she was a breakup. She was 3-2 up, ends up losing the set 6-4, had a chance to go 4-2 up. But yeah, a pretty interesting set of tennis that first set. It did ebb and flow. Navarro, though, coming out on top, just being a bit more clutch in the big moment. The second set, there wasn't as much to talk about because Navarro was really solid. Gauff didn't get a single breakpoint opportunity. And in fact, for Navarro, she only had 1 breakpoint opportunity in the second set. She took it the first time of asking. So clinical stuff from her. And then managed to close out the match at 5-3. It's a long 5-3 game, you can see there. So that was a really pivotal game for Navarro because she didn't have to save any break points, but there was a few juices. There was actually 2 juices in the end. That game gets longer and longer. It becomes more and more important, and Gauff breaks back, and it's 5-4. You probably imagine Gauff then holds, and then there's a lot of pressure on Navarro at 5-all. So, yeah, I mean, very impressive from the 23-year-old. She managed to come up against, a top elite player on the women's tour and winning straight sets and put forward a really good strategy. And that brings me to the comments from both players in the post match. So we can start off with Coco Gauff, and she said that Emma Navarro played really well with a lot of variety, slices, good shapes and spins, and managed to make her feel, I guess, uncomfortable. Was what I read between the lines, anyway. And Goff also said that she was frustrated with her box and was very, very vocal towards her box because they had a game plan and it wasn't working, and she felt like they needed to do something different. I think maybe her team weren't extremely sure about what to do. And for Goff, she was getting frustrated. She said in the press conference that it was the first time with Brad and her other coach that something had come up like this, where a game plan wasn't working, and they just didn't have another option in the bag already to implement. And I think that's what was frustrating her, and that's understandable. But yeah, I mean, she just said that Navarro was hugging the baseline really well. She was taking the ball early. She was rushing Goff, and she said that she absorbed any kind of power baseline shots that Goff was hitting. Navarro was soaking them up really nicely. Goff was saying, and she was able to redirect nicely with great timing. For Navarro, she was actually pretty clear with what her game plan was, which is interesting. She said that she wanted to attack the Goff forehand, but it seemed like Goff wanted to do the same to her as well. So they ended up in a lot of cross court exchanges on the forehand side. And then it was almost a cat and mouse type situation and a real game of tennis IQ. And Navarro said she loves those types of matches where you have to really think. And, she felt she got the best out of herself by playing in that environment. So, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting comment from Navarro because, I think it's difficult, right? Because you don't always think that tennis players really want to problem solve, especially with now that there's on-court coaching. But she seems like one that does want to, and that's fantastic to hear. And she said she was also trying to make Coco hit as many forehand returns as possible, which is really interesting to hear. And yeah, I mean, she played some really good tennis. She played some really, really good tennis. And Coco Gauff said that she was getting rushed from the baseline a lot. And I think that was the plan from Navarro, was to take time away from Goff. And she said that herself. She didn't want Goff able to have a lot of time, because when she's got time, then she can set up that elaborate forehand swing or backhand swing and actually then absorb pace well and then attack, and at times even potentially be able to attack in neutral points and then come out on top. So yeah, very, very important, I think. Look, I mean, in terms of tactics, it was clear that both players were attacking the other's forehand. So a lot of cross court exchanges, as Navarro mentioned to me in a post match. But I do wonder whether Goff will try to potentially get into more backhand to backhand exchanges. Her backhand is really solid. She's able to generate a lot of pace as well down the line cross court. Navarro's backhand is, again, pretty solid, but I don't think she has as much variety on that wing. If, for example, Goff starts coming to the net, what does Navarro do, or vice versa? Maybe Navarro comes to the net. But yeah, for me, Coco, it's all in her hands because she plays a really good level on a hard court, which I think these slow to medium pace hard courts are probably, you know, the best for someone like Goff. Look, I mean, closing thoughts are that Goff needs to serve well. She's got a massive serve. Navarro actually said, sorry, as well in the post match, that she was trying, sorry, excuse me, she was trying to attack Coco's serve, especially the second serve, so that Goff would then not feel comfortable, not just a second serve, but a first serve as well, because she would have been thinking, I need to make this first serve because I'm struggling with double faults. So that was very interesting to hear from M. Navarro. Very, very interesting. But yeah, so look, I mean, in terms of tactics, I think I would imagine Gauff is going to try and be a bit more offensive. I think she'll go backhand line earlier. She should come to the net. If I was her, I would try. She's got a good hand. She's got a massive serve. Why not? And she has to deal with the variation that Navarro's going to bring. I'm going to go for Coco Gauff to get revenge. I'm going to go Coco Gauff in 3 sets. She played well against Svitolina recently as well, who's also been playing some very solid tennis. So good win for Gauff. I think she'll take confidence, rest up, and she'll be ready to go. I think she'll win in 3 sets. I wouldn't discount Navarro, though, that's for sure. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. We'll see you in the next video.